Hey there, Blip here, and I heard that you were having some troubles with the twisting corridors. It's the new Torghast mode that Blizzard introduced, and it's actually a lot of fun, simply because the amount of powers you can collect over the duration of the floor means you can make some pretty cool builds. And I tried all the specs in the dungeon, and I found one spec to shine out above the rest. Fire I found kind of weak because you relied on a lot of damage powers to do big damage in your combustion, although you could just easily kill the boss by making them fly in the sky. Frost was really nice because I could just perma-root stuff and kill them with Ice Novas, or I could do other builds where I had Giga Frostbolt damage. But then I come across Arcane. I wanted to try all the specs to see which was going to give me the most enjoyable time in Torghast. Now this Arcane build was actually insane. I had a bit of everything, but the main thing I had was a few things that literally let me one-shot bosses. Even the big bosses. I was critting for 6.5 million Arcane Blasts. Although it's a given, I was quite dependent on a few powers, and I think I got very lucky with this build. But in general, Arcane Mage without this one-shot build still does good damage. But I want to show you the full setup of this one-shot now, and I also wanted to show you just how fun this build is in general. Now before we start off as well, I just want to say that Arcane was definitely not fun on the earlier levels. I mean, it was okay for the first few where I could just Arcane explode and kill stuff, but until you get powers, you feel really weak. But when you get powers, you turn into a turbo hyper carry. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the boss one shot. This is only on like layer 3 mind you, but you'll be able to see the damage and you'll understand that this will work all the way up to layer 8. So there's a few things that make this build work. There is a power that increases your damage that you deal to the target in your other schools whenever you damage them with your other schools. So if I cast a Fire Blast on the target, for example, they'll take increased Arcane and Frost damage. If I cast a Frost spell, they'll take increased Arcane and Fire damage, and you get it. So that's a very important one I had like 2 of those or 3 of those, which amplified my damage by a lot. I had the power that makes it so whenever you destroy a flask or one of the objects on the side of a room, you know, the ones that give you Phantasma, you gain a stack of damage on your main spell, which is Arcane Blast for Arcane Mage, and this stacks up to 100 times, so you can get 200% increased damage on your Arcane Blast. That is very nice with this build. The next thing that you really need to make this build work is the slippers. Now you've probably all used the slippers in some form or another. It's the one that when you invis, the first primary spell you cast outside of invis will do 200% more damage, sorry, 2000% more damage, which for Arcane is Arcane Blast, Fire, Fireball, and Frost is Frostbolt. But the reason why this is so overpowered for Arcane is because, as you've realised now, I have all these multipliers, and that's a lot. I also have a 45% crit chance from all the other powers I've gained that just passively increase my crit chance. So in general, if I crit that opening Arcane Blast, it's going to do a lot of damage, but there's more things I can do to amplify this. You have to remember that I can also use my Touch of the Magi, which is going to store that damage and do it later as well. And then I'm also going to have Arcane Power and Rune of Power, and I'm going to be playing obviously Overpowered, which is giving me 50% more damage, and then Rune of Power the 40% spell power, and I also had Incanter's Flow, because I had 2 talents from the Anima Power. So I had all this spell power, but the problem is you can't use all that stuff and then open on the boss if you want to really get the most damage, because I also want to apply the other stuff to the boss, the, you know, the 80 or 90% increased damage from Arcane by using the opposite schools. So what I did was I summoned my mirror images. I would put my Touch of the Magi on the boss for my 4 Arcane charges, because remember your Mastery increases the damage of your Arcane Blast. And then all I needed to do was put my Frost schools and Fire schools on the boss, cast my Arcane Power and Invis. And then, as you can see, bam! It's like the most fun I've ever had in Torghast. Just getting this up, your mirror images can't go invisible. So yeah, you just literally go invisible with all your powers ready. And just, if you're lucky and you get that crit, well, you're just gonna one-shot the boss. If I didn't crit, I still would have pretty much one-shot the boss, and as soon as my Touch of the Magi exploded, he was dead. So, as you can imagine, this build, if you get it, is so good. The best part about this build actually was that I also had 0 cooldown on my blink, and I had the jump boots. So what I could do was just jump around each floor and blink, and I could just keep resetting it to gain insane mobility, which would mean that I could just, you know, ignore most of the mobs and just go to where the powers are, and then invis all the mobs off me if I wanted to kill a mob which had a good power, for example. And this build was honestly the most fun I've ever had in Torghast, and if you can get this exact same build, I recommend you trying out something similar. Now, even if I don't get all this stuff together, it's still pretty insane how much damage Arcane Mage pumps out with Time Warp and all the haste modifiers and whatnot, and I would just recommend going for an Arcane Blast focused build, because then you can just kill everything with Arcane Blast, and it is so nice. Yeah. This video was something a bit different, a very quick video. I just wanted to show you that, you know, if you're having trouble with the twisting corridors in Torghast, there's this very, very, very overpowered Arcane Mage build you can do that will just literally trivialize the whole thing, apart from getting to the bosses. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.